Welcome, students. So, in the process of learning about the scouting and screening of the project ideas or scouting and generation of the project ideas, let's have some discussion with the reference to the entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurship, because ultimately it's the entrepreneurship or the entrepreneurial traits of the individuals or the qualities of the individuals or maybe the organizations which are going to deliver the value, and they are going to convert those ideas into the new ventures, right? So as we all understand that setting up a business unit or maybe a startup or maybe a by expansion, diversification or growth project, in any case by any unit, we need to have some better qualities, entrepreneurial qualities, and better background, maybe in terms of the technology, in terms of the management education, or maybe in terms of the some business experiences. So if you are a good entrepreneur, if you're having the entrepreneurial qualities, number one, only then you will think of setting up a venture, otherwise not. We talk about, say for example, the fresh graduates coming out of the engineering colleges or from the management schools or maybe from the other institutions. Many of them go for the placements. They choose the placements, they go to the companies, they work in the companies, and later on, some at the later part of their life, if they feel that they can become entrepreneurs, then yes, they turn and they become the entrepreneurs. But the people who choose to become the entrepreneurs right from the very beginning, when they're the fresh graduates, they have acquired the recently they have acquired the technology knowledge, they have acquired the management skills, and they want to become now the entrepreneurs rather than joining some organization, maybe as their employee or as a maybe some human resource. So it means they have some distinct qualities of being an entrepreneur, and they become sometimes very successful entrepreneurs. They give shape to the ventures, and sometimes those ventures are reckoned with, and not in their own country, in their own economy, but the worldwide. Let's talk about these entrepreneurs who are ruling the world today. You talk about the Elon Musk, you talk about the Jeff Bezos, you talk about Mark Zuckerberg, you talk about the Steve Jobs, who is unfortunately not with us today. You talk about with the maybe the other people, young people who are ruling the world today, were the fresh graduates, and some of them are even college dropouts. They didn't like studying in the college. They couldn't continue that entrepreneurial qualities, those skills didn't even allow them, didn't even allow them to wait for that. They should wait for their maybe that maybe the qualification which they want to attain, and then after that they should set up their venture. They, because they were having the inborn qualities, they were the born entrepreneurs. So because of those qualities, they took the risk, they had the vision, they had the thought in their mind, and finally they became very successful entrepreneurs. So in this entire process, we have to learn about how entrepreneurship is important, how entrepreneurial qualities are important, and how important it's going to be a useful trait while setting up a new project, a new venture, or a new enterprise. If you talk about the Indian entrepreneurs, we have many examples. Bhavesh Agarwal, who set up this Ola cabs, right? We have this another guy who has set up that Oyo rooms, right? It's a name to be known today. He was very young, maybe a school student at the time when he set up that venture. Similarly, there are some other maybe these apps coming up. We have the Chayos, we have Chai Sutta Bar, we have the MBA Chai Wala. All these are the people who are been able to set up their own ventures, and those ventures have become now the maybe the very large sized organizations, enterprises, and it has a very good value. 110 unicorns in India today we have. 110, even sometime more than that. Unicorns we have today. Who have set up those unicorns? Young graduates from India, young people of India, they have set up those unicorns. We have more than 10 decacons in India today. Who have set up these decacons? They are the young people, young graduates. And maybe when the Flipkart was set up by the Sachin and the Benny Bansal, you understand that at that time, the culture of entrepreneurship was not even very progressive culture, or maybe it was not prevalent everywhere. So we have to understand that identification of the project idea is something, but implementing that idea is something else. You understand that, you know the story of Dhirubhai Ambani ji, who was a very simple, a common man. When he started his career from Gujarat, when he came to Bombay, he was a common man. If you read about him, it will be wonderful experience to learn about how he has set up the Reliance Industries, which has become the second largest industrial house in this country today, business house in the country today. And what was the vision of Dhirubhai Ambani? It's the second generation who is managing the group, right? Mukesh Ambani ji or Anil Ambani ji, they are the second generation. First generation was Dhirubhai Ambani himself. How he conceived those ideas, how he implemented those ideas, and how he gave the shape to those ideas, that was really something very, very unique. I would share a story here with him that when Reliance was building Jamnagar refinery in Gujarat, they built it, which was, you call it as the resistant on the 7 points on the Richter scale. For example, tomorrow if any earthquake comes or anything comes, so they thought of that if we construct it, which is a 7-point resistant on the Richter scale, that would be sufficient enough. Because if they want to increase the resistance level from the 7 point to 7.5 or 7.25, the cost was going to increase like anything. So I have read it somewhere that Mukesh Ambani, when he discussed this with his father, Dhirubhai Ambani ji, that we are going to build this plant and we have decided to build it, which is you can call it as resistant on the 7-point scale, on the Richter scale. And tomorrow if anything of the sort happens, then I think that would be a sufficient resistance level and our plant would go unaffected or would be safe, right? Would be safe. So Dhirubhai Ambani ji smiled and he said that Mukesh, no, it's not 7 point, it should be 7.5. It should be 7 point, means having the resistance level of 7.5 on the Richter scale. But he said that if we want to increase the resistance level, the cost will increase like anything. He said, no problem, go ahead with the cost. Go ahead with the cost because it's required. We should go ahead with this. And finally in 2001 or 2002, when there was a Gujarat earthquake, the power of that, the strength of that earthquake was more than 7.5 on the Richter scale. So you understand the vision of that man. Had it not been constructed with the resistance level of 7.5 on the Richter scale, right? So at that time, means it was not 7.5, it was more than 7 points on the Richter scale. So when this plant was constructed, right, Mukesh Ambani discussed with his father that we are going to construct it on the 7 points on the Richter scale, that it has the resistance level on the 7 points on the Richter scale, and that is sufficient for us. But Dhirubhai Ambani said that no, we have to make it something which is resistant upon the 7.5 on the Richter scale. Making it resistant only on the 7 point will not be sufficient. But he discussed with his father that if we want to increase the resistance level from 7 to 7.5, is going to increase the cost of setting up of the plant significantly higher. He smiled again, he said that no problem, go ahead with the cost. We will have to construct it which is 7.5 resistant on the Richter scale, not on the 7 point. And in 2001 or 2002, I guess, when there was an earthquake in the state of Gujarat, that was powerful and that was more than 7 points on the Richter scale. The strength of that earthquake was more than 7 points on the Richter scale. So had it been constructed which is only 7 point resistant on the Richter scale, and the strength of that, the power of that earthquake was more than 7 point on the Richter scale, which came in 2002 in Gujarat, entire plant could have been turned into ashes. But it saved because of the vision of the Dhirubhai Ambani. He said go for constructing it which is resistant at 7.5 on the Richter scale. Had it been only at 7, resistant at 7 point, they could have lost the entire plant. So you can understand these qualities, these are the important qualities of the entrepreneurs, and means certain things. In the next slide, I am going to discuss with you the qualities of the entrepreneurs, and these qualities are risk-taking ability, they should be visionaries, and they should have a number of other things. But these two are the preliminary qualities, important qualities, which they should have with them, and they will have to carry them if they want to become the successful entrepreneurs. Karshan Bhai means he was a simple working class person. He was working as a chemist. He was a chemistry graduate and he was working as a chemist. He kept on doing research and he tried his product for 20 years. And after 20 years when he launched it, it means that entrepreneurial qualities inside him, these qualities compelled him to turn into an entrepreneur from a person working in an industry. or maybe in the government department. So you have to be very clear that if you want to become entrepreneur, first of all, test yourself that you are an entrepreneur. You are not meant to work for someone. You want to work for yourself, set up a venture, set up a startup, and we'll go ahead with that and we'll work with that particular enterprise or that particular organization I want to set up. If you are that determined, then you will become Elon Musk, you will become Jeff Bezos, you may become Mark Zuckerberg, or you may become Bhavesh Agarwal, or you may become maybe any other established entrepreneur of India, or you may become even one day Dhirubhai Ambani also. So, in this entire process, Amar Bhide, an Indian American professor, he has identified certain things and he has said that there are certain questions that every entrepreneur must answer to himself before becoming an entrepreneur. Before setting up that venture, you must answer these questions to yourself, to nobody else, no any external stakeholder. To yourself, you have to answer these questions, and then finally you have to take a call that whether I'm going to move in the right direction and take a right step or not. If we are not going to move in the right direction or take a right step, in that case, maybe we are doing something which may not be considered as a right step. So what these questions are: number one, are my goals well defined? It's a very clear question. Are my goals well defined? And it's not only for entrepreneurs. You see that when you want to think of building a career, when we are students in the schools, many times we ask this question that I want to become a doctor, I want to become an engineer, I want to become a bureaucrat, I want to do UPSC and I want to become a bureaucrat. That's when we think of working. Sometimes maybe our parents want something else, we want something else, but what finally happen or should happen is that what we want, the child wants. So as an entrepreneur, because at that level, when we have not set up any venture, we want to go with a startup, we are also like a child, and we have to answer these questions that are my goals well defined? And in that case, look at your personal aspirations, right? You look at your business sustainability and the size which we want to go in with, and the tolerance of the risk, which is a very important consideration here. So what you want to be? Simply it's only aspiration that I want an entrepreneur, or I can create a sustainable business and may not be of a very bigger size, but of a reasonable size which can sustain. Means the size which is required to sustain in terms of the cost and benefits, cost and revenue, profit and loss, and then is the tolerance of the risk. How much risk I can tolerate. That's why I will discuss later on while we'll talk about the financial analysis for the new ventures or new projects. But it's a common advice that whenever we want to think of making any investment in the projects, we should bring more and more resources from our internal sources, bootstrapping, family and friends, or maybe venture capital, or maybe private equity. In no case, even if it is available, we should venture into raising the funds in the form of debt from any financial institution. Though people say, literature also says debt is cheaper than equity, but it entails a big amount of the risk. So how much debt you can bring in? It's not only in the financial terms. It's in every term, means how much risk you can take, how much risk you can tolerate. Move that way in that direction. If you put all your coins, people say normally when they go to the stock market, they say that you go slowly and steadily, number one, and don't put all your coins in one basket. Same is the case here. That if you want to set up a venture, first of all, look back. That what is your capabilities? What are your aspirations? What size of the business you can create? Whether it's going to be sustainable, and if any amount of the risk is involved, what is that risk? Second thing, do I have the right strategy? Right, this is a very important consideration. First thing is, let's understand what is a strategy. Strategy is something, a kind of a plan, but it is different from a normal plan, and normally a plan which is prepared by seeing our enemy's plan is called as a strategy. So it means when you're going to move into a business, Already people are there in the market and they may be your business enemies. So you have to have a strategy to combat their strategies and to win over the sufficient market share and to make your presence felt in the market. Reliance Industries, such a large size of the second large industrial house, when they planned to move into the mobile telephony market, they decided to give the services to the people free of cost for the period of 6 months. Why they did it? Reliance name itself is sufficient, but still they had to have that kind of strategy because 4 bigger companies, well established players, were already there in the market. Why should people move from these 4 to the 5th new player coming up in the market? Why should they shift? You have to have a strategy. Giving the free service for a period of 6 months was a strategy, so that at least you give the people a reason to think about and to test your service. And if it is better than the existing players, certainly you will like to move. You will become the former buyers of their services and you will become the present buyer for the new entrant in the market. So that's a very important consideration. That's an important thing. So do I have a right strategy to move into that particular venture, that area? Because you think about which area is not having a competition today. Manufacturing sector is very, very competitive because the fixed cost element is very high. Services sector is not having a very strict entry barrier. So if you enter today, tomorrow anybody can enter into that market. So which area is safe these days? And don't think that in the smaller ventures or small areas or the rural markets, multinationals will not come. Coca-Cola is available in every remote corner of India today. And they have started sponsoring even the small events also, even Jagrata events also, they sponsor sometimes to make their presence felt in that particular area. So if you think that your product would be that you select this rural market and you are going to operate in that market and you are having a safe corner, is it going to happen like that? No. So have, number one, right strategy means have a clear definition, what you want to do and how you want to do, for whom you want to do, at what price you want to sell your product and service. Second thing, profitability and potential for the growth. Because ultimately, maximization of your wealth, your venture's wealth is your objective. And that would be possible through what? That will be possible through profitability and potential for the growth. You have to grow, you have to expand the market, you have to spread the wings. When Elon Musk has set up his own organizations or the businesses, for example, you talk about Tesla. Why he was so eager to acquire this Twitter? Because that helped him to grow in his business, not in any country, but globally. Tesla, has he only manufactured for America? He wants to enter every country's market. India had certain kind of conditions, but he is working on those conditions, and jointly government and Elon Musk, they are working on the conditions and they are going to create a situation where the Tesla can come to India. So growth is important, expansion is important. So that if one market doesn't remain safe for you, you can move to the other market. You have multiple markets. Durability. You are going to sustain, durability or sustainability you call it as. You are going to sustain in the market. You are not going to manufacture Chinese products. You are going to manufacture some quality and better products. And at what rate, if you want to grow, at what rate you are going to grow? What's the rate of growth? So profitability and potential for growth and rate of growth is important. And at the same time, when you talk about the sustainability, you talk about the durability also, that your product is durable, your product is sustainable. Your venture is sustainable. Because if the product is durable, that's going to give you the sustainability to your venture or your organization. Next thing is, can I execute the strategy? How many resources I have? What are my organizational infrastructure? And next thing is what is my role as a founder? Jeff Bezos, we all understand, when he started Amazon, he started from a car garage. At that time, he didn't have all these resources. He didn't have finances. He didn't have the other inputs. He didn't have the space. And he didn't have maybe the physical infrastructure in his hands. But his own role was very critical and he was confident that my idea is going to work tomorrow. Mark Zuckerberg was in the hostel. He got that idea from there only, from a very small place. He developed that idea of the Facebook, Instagram and all these things. Facebook initially. And today you see everybody is on the Facebook. You think about Elon Musk. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the when finally when it became a success for him, SpaceX, when it became a success, he had maybe risked all his resources. He didn't have even a place to stay, house for himself to stay. Whatever the resources were there, he had committed all the resources, but he was prepared to win, and finally God blessed him. So, can I execute the strategy? Yes, you have to know about that. And when you talk about the founder's role, there I am emphasizing upon right from the beginning of discussion in the previous lectures also that your background will make a big difference. Your technical knowledge may be, your management skills may be, if you belong to a business family, even in that case, or maybe if you have any other specialized skills, those skills are going to make a difference. Those skills are going to make a difference. And because you have not to be dependent upon others, first you should know how to manufacture that product yourself. You should know how to generate that service which we want to generate for the people tomorrow. If you are fully dependent upon your team, then you are not going to be a successful entrepreneur. You have to lead from the front. Elon Musk knows how the SpaceX works, how their products are manufactured. Mark Zuckerberg has developed the Facebook himself. Jeff Bezos has developed Amazon himself. Their role is very critical even today when they have become they have become the multinational companies, but their role is still very, very important even today. So your role has to be very, very critical. Bhavesh Agarwal still knows that how Ola app will work, how to make it faster, how to make it user friendly, how to make it more productive and proactive. Because these people have developed these apps on their own with their own hands, mind and own resources. So your role has not to be that you have to hire the people and get the things done. You have to develop all these things yourself. Your role is very critical. Maybe tomorrow you can get the things done from the people, but what is today you are. Your role is very important. Your idea, your own control upon that particular product or that service is very, very critical, is very, very important. So as a successful entrepreneur, these three important questions: are my goals well defined? Number one, do I have the right strategy and can I execute the strategy? Having the goals, one thing, but are they well defined? Second thing. Having the strategy is something, but implementing that strategy, something. Execution of that strategy is entirely different. You need to have financial resources, you need to have physical resources, you need to have human resources, you should have the technical knowledge, and all above this, you should have the way, knowledge, how to get the things done from the people or from the resources which you are going to organize and bring them at a common place. So if you are able to answer these questions positively to yourself and you are feeling satisfied that yes, I am having all the answers to all these questions, my goals are well defined, yes, I know I can do it, I have the right strategy and I can execute this strategy. So with these three things, first answering these three questions to yourself, when you go in front of the venture capitalist or the people who are going to give you the money, when you go to those people are also going to welcome you. Those people are also going to provide you the liberal funds because they know your confidence level, they know your clarity level, they know your the level of acquisition of that idea or development of that idea and having a complete control upon that idea. So Amar Bhideji has emphasized upon that we should have to answer, we have to answer these questions first to ourselves, then to the rest of the world if we want to become successful entrepreneurs. And last part of this discussion is going to be that qualities and traits of the successful entrepreneurs, right? So we have certain important qualities. Most of these qualities I have already discussed with you in the different occasions or the different contexts. But still, when we are going to close the discussion on the, say, generation and screening of the product ideas or the project ideas, so let's have some idea about the entrepreneurial qualities that if you want to become a successful entrepreneur, it's not a question of a startup or a new venture. It's equally important for the existing firms also, the leaders who are going to be the leaders for that particular project. Because companies appoint some individuals as the leaders for leading their important projects who are specialized. So they should have some qualities in them, and those qualities are tested and tried, and finally they are given the responsibility of developing that organization, setting up of that organization. So equally important at all level of firms, right from a multinational company's projects to a startup. And if you have the entrepreneurial qualities, only then you can become successful entrepreneur and you can deliver the goods. So number one, as I told you, vision. You must be visionary as good as the Dhirubhai Ambani ji was, so that you can save your plant, your venture from any kind of the earthquake. You can save it. Your vision must be very clear. What is going to happen 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line? Who is going to rule the world? What product and services are required at that time? That should be clearly known to you. Willingness to make sacrifices. When you talk about this, we talk something about here is, and that we are talking about is the risk. Willingness to make sacrifices means you are ready to take risk. But when I talk to you that taking the risk, it means always take that your risk should be calculated. You take a risk, but that risk should be calculated risk. Never take uncalculated risk. Maybe smallest investment to the any level of investment you are going to make, you should have the risk taking ability, but you have to always take the calculated risk. Next thing is the leadership qualities are very important. Successful entrepreneurs are very good leaders also because they have to lead from the front. Decisiveness is another important consideration. You should be taking the right decision at the right time. Decisiveness approach is very important. You should take the decision where to get the resources, how much to get the resources, how much to pay for that, who are my suppliers, who are my buyers, when to enter the new markets, how to deal with the competitions or the competitors in the market. Everything is important. Confidence in the project. Because you are going to bring many people at a common place that's called as the organization of the resources or giving shape to an enterprise or giving a shape to an organization. So confidence in your project is going to help, and you need many resources. Maybe they are financial, they are human resources, they are physical resources, everything. So these are going to be value adding factors for you. So first of all, you should be confident in your work you are going to do. If you are confident, you are able to explain the things to others also, and your confidence level is going to increase their confidence level also. When you talk about the venture capitalists, angel investors, they gain the confidence from your confidence. They are not expert in all areas. When they give the money, when they make investment, they are not experts in all the areas. But when you make the presentations to them, you show your level of confidence. It helps to build their level of confidence also. And that confidence level, being a good entrepreneur, builds the confidence level of your financiers, your employees, your other resources, and especially the human resources. And that helps to make you a successful entrepreneur or help you to set up the successful venture, marketing orientation. Because ultimately you have to go to the market. You have to go to the market with your product. Which market you want to go, how you want to serve the customer, what should be the price, what should be the quality, and what should be the after sales service. After sales service has become very, very important criteria these days. And that was one important reason where Indian organizations failed, which were existing, who were the leaders in the pre-globalization era. They could not sustain in the market because they never cared the customer. They never respected the customer after selling the product to them or maybe a service to them. Think about all the companies manufacturing CTVs at that time. Bajaj Auto, similarly, you go to the BSNL, giving you after establishing a telephone, nobody cared if it's working, it's not working, and time has killed them. There are a number of examples. If the after sales service is not given, people will not continue to be your customers. Strong ego, it's a very important trait. You should have some confidence, because when you have the confidence, you have the ego. And ego is always not something negative. Having a positive qualities, positive confidence, that gives you an ego. You should have that ego, but you should use that ego, your confidence positively, convince others and prove the metal in the market that whatever I thought of, that's going to work and that's going to make me a successful entrepreneur and help me to set up the successful venture. And last but not the least, this is the open-mindedness. You should be adaptable. If any good thing is happening in the market, adapt that. Maybe in terms of technology, in terms of finances, in terms of human resources, in terms of management skills, learn new and new things. Because this world is dynamic, not static. So dynamism make you open-minded. Always you have to be dynamic as an entrepreneur. So remain dynamic, remain open-minded, dynamic, adapt things, make changes, And all those changes will take organizations towards the improvement in your venture, and it will become from a startup working in a corner to a national company, international company, and one day it may become a multinational or a transnational company also. So these are some of the traits, some of the qualities which are important apart from generation and scouting for good project ideas. Your own willingness, your own qualities as an entrepreneur are going to play a very, very critical role, very, very important role. And if all these things work together, nobody can fail any organization. The venture will work, startup will work, expansion, diversification, growth project of any existing firm will work, and it will prove to be a very, very successful venture. So always carry the qualities of a successful entrepreneur. Either you learn, or if you have already, then very good. Otherwise, you acquire some qualities before moving into a new venture, setting up a startup, or setting up a new project. With these words, I will stop here, and next time we will move to the next topic, and that is the first point of analysis, and that is the market and demand analysis. That we will discuss in the next part. Till then, thank you very much, and we'll meet in the next class. Thank you.